And the third type of phase 2 reactions are methylation or conjugation with methyl group. It involves basically the transfer of methyl group from the cofactor, and the name of cofactor is S-adenosyl methionine, to the acceptor substrate by various methyl transferases enzymes. Methylation reaction is of lesser importance for drugs, but it is more important for the biosynthesis of amines inside the body endogenously. For example, adrenaline and melatonin, and inactivation of histamine. So overall, the metabolites formed are not polar or water soluble, but may possesses equal or greater activity than the parent compound. For example, adrenaline synthesized from noradrenaline. Other examples that undergo methylation include alpha methyl dopa and morphine. Next phase 2 reactions are glutathione conjugation. Conjugation with glutathione and mercaptopuric acid formation is a minor but very important metabolic pathway. Glutathione GSH, where G stands for glutathione and SH thiol group, which is the active group. It is basically a tripeptide having glutamic acid, cysteine, and glycine. It has a strong nucleophilic character, and due to this nucleophilic character is due to the presence of thiol group SH in its structure. Thus it conjugates with electrophile substances, and a number of which are potentially toxic compounds, and protects tissues from their adverse effects, because highly electrophilic substrates have a tendency to react with tissue's nucleophilic groups and precipitate toxicity from tissue necrosis, carcinogenesis, and mutagenesis. So the interaction between the substrate and GSH is catalyzed by the enzyme glutathione S transferase, and it is located in the soluble fraction of the liver homogenate. The glutathione conjugate, either due to its high molecular weight, is excreted as such in the bile, as we have discussed that larger conjugates are removed from the body via bile. If and it is further metabolized to form mercaptopuric acid, and if the mercaptopuric acid is formed, that is another conjugate, then it is excreted in the urine. Acetylation or conjugation with acetyl is an other important metabolic pathway for drugs, particularly for drugs which contains the amino group. The cofactor for these reactions is acetyl coenzyme A, and the enzymes are non-microsomal N-acetyl transferase, and they are also located in the soluble fractions of cells of various tissues. And the drugs that undergo acetylation includes sulfonamides. Previously, we have discussed what are phase 1 reactions and what are phase 2 reactions, and also their subtypes, the subtypes of phase 1 reaction and subtypes of phase 2 reaction, along with some examples that which drugs undergo which of these follows which of the pathway. Next is the induction of drug metabolizing enzymes. Uh, Several drugs and chemicals have the ability to increase the drug metabolizing capacity of the enzymes, and this process is basically called enzyme inductions. There are drugs that perform these functions are known as enzyme inducers, and they basically interact with DNA and increase the synthesis of microsomal enzyme proteins, particularly cytochrome P450 and glucuronide transferase. So the result is that there is enhanced metabolism of endogenous substances, for example steroids, and drug metabolized by microsomal enzymes. So some drugs like carbamazepine and rifampicin may stimulate their own metabolism by inducing enzymes. So this phenomena is called autoinduction or self-induction. Since different cytochrome P450 isozymes are involved in the metabolism of different drugs, as we have discussed before that there are different types of isoenzymes. So enzymes induced by one drug affects the metabolism of only those drugs actually which are substrate for the induced isozymes. It means that the drug which is basically a substrate for the induced isozyme, then it is being affected by that isoenzyme. However, some drugs like phenobarbital may affect metabolism of a large number of drugs because they induce isoenzymes like CYP3A and CYP2D6, and these two isoenzymes basically act on a number of drugs. So enzyme inducers are generally basically they are lipid soluble compounds, and with they usually have relatively long plasma half life. And another important thing that must be remembered here is that repeated administration of inducers for a few days, at least for 3 to 10 days, it is often required for the process of enzyme induction in a human body. And similarly, on stoppage of drug administration, the enzymes return to their normal value or original value within 1 to 3 weeks. So non-microsomal enzymes are not known to induced by any drug or chemical. Only microsomal enzymes are induced by drugs or chemicals. Non-microsomal enzymes are not induced by any of the drug or chemicals. If we are talking about the induction of enzymes, so there must be some clinical importance of this enzyme induction, and there are some points that are written here which are basically the clinical importance of this enzyme induction. Microsomal induction occurs by drugs. It has clinical importance. Number one, it reduces the efficacy and potency of drug metabolized by enzymes. It reduces the plasma half-life and duration of action of the drugs. It enhances the drug tolerance. It increases the toxicity if the metabolite is toxic, and it also increases the chances of drug interactions. So these are some points that are of clinical importance when we talk about the induction of enzymes inside the human body. Inhibition of drug metabolizing enzymes. Contrary to metabolizing enzymes induction, several drugs or chemicals also have the ability to decrease the metabolizing activity of certain enzymes, and this process is called enzyme inhibition. So enzyme inhibition basically falls under two types. It can either be non-specific of microsomal enzymes, number one, or it is specific of some non-microsomal enzymes. If it is of specific of non-microsomal enzymes, the examples would be monoamine oxidase or aldehyde dehydrogenase. Uh, so the inhibition of hepatic microsomal enzymes mainly occurs due to the administration of some hepatotoxic agents. These hepatotoxic agents causes rise in the rate of enzyme degradation. For example, carbon tetrachloride and carbon disulfide, right? Uh, and fall in rate of enzyme synthesis. For example, some drugs basically affect the rate of synthesis of enzyme. For example, dactinomycin. And nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalance, and hepatic dysfunction. They are also involved in the inhibition of microsomal enzymes, but indirectly. So this is the inhibition of non-microsomal enzymes with specific function usually results when structurally similar compounds compete for the same active site on the enzymes. And such an inhibition is usually rapid. It means that a single dose of inhibitor may be sufficient and clinically more important than the non-specific microsomal enzyme inhibition. Clinical significance of enzyme inhibition is that it generally results in depressed metabolism of drugs, and it results in increase in plasma half-life, duration of action, and efficacy, and obviously toxicity of some object drugs whose metabolism has been inhibited are significantly these parameters are basically enhanced. So in case of drug undergoing hepatic first pass effect, bioavailability and toxicity of drug will markedly increase the presence of an enzyme inhibition. It means that enzyme inhibition may also produce undesirable drug interactions. If we talk about therapeutics, some specific enzyme inhibitors like monoamine oxidase inhibitors, choline esterase inhibitors, and angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors are purposely used for producing desired pharmacological actions. Another important concept is the first pass metabolism. First pass effect or first pass metabolism or pre-systemic metabolism. It is defined as loss of drug through biotransformation before it enters the systemic circulation. And this occurs during the passage of drug for the first time through the intestine or liver after oral administration. So actually there are two types of first pass effects. We are talking about both the intestinal first pass effect and the hepatic first pass effect. If we talk about intestinal first pass effect, drugs are metabolized in gastrointestinal tract by enzymes present in either in gut mucosa or lumen. So before they are absorbed, microorganisms present in gastrointestinal tract also inactivate some drugs. Such drugs are not suitable for oral administration due to poor bioavailability, and the examples of such drugs are catecholamines because they are degraded here in the lumen of the gut. The second one is the hepatic first pass metabolism, first pass effect. Here, drugs are suitably absorbed across gastrointestinal tract and enter the portal circulation, but they are rapidly and significantly metabolized during the first passage through the liver. Normally, when a drug is absorbed across gastrointestinal tract, it first enters the portal vein and passes through the liver before it reaches the systemic circulation. So, such drugs are not suitable for oral administration due to their poor bioavailability. So examples of drugs undergoing significant hepatic first pass effect include propranolol, lignocaine, nitroglycerin, etc.